Hello guys, so this video is going to be based upon movement mechanics, and I'm going to start it off with the most basic thing, which is stamina. So stamina is basically consumed every time you sprint, you do like a jump, or you do a sprinting attack, and there's a few like abilities of the horses that do it. So if you pay attention to the stamina bar, as you can see, it takes some time to regen. However, that is a problem whenever you reach 0 stamina. If you ever zero out your stamina, it takes a longer time to regen than if you just don't let it drain to 0. As you can see, you can't even leave it like a tiny sliver, and it will still regen normally. It's the same thing with horse. When you're using the horse, you always want to never fully drain the horse stamina. Like even if it's a tiny bit left, you can still gain stamina back after like a half second delay. If you fully drain the stamina, as you can see, it takes a longer time to do this, and this becomes a problem later on if you're playing against like another hero that's trying to chase you down or chasing down your units and stuff like that. You want to be able to keep up with them that way. When it comes to dismounting, like the right click ability for Pike, Glaive also has the right click ability. These types of attacks off the back of horses require stamina, same with Spear. With these abilities, you also don't want to zero out your stamina either, because as you saw just now, you can also roll right after you dismount, and this works for every class regardless. So you never want to zero out your stamina, because that's that way you won't be able to roll after, because rolling right after you dismount is a way to engage against most enemies, because the desync is enough that by the time you dismount and then roll away, the enemy would not be able to keep up with your movement very well, that is. That is really important in the My Game server, as the game does have desync here. And an important thing to keep note of is that you never want to zero out, like if it's completely necessary, never zero out both your horse and hero stamina. You need to make sure that you can at least keep momentum with at least one of those things. If you guys have a problem when it comes to the stamina bug, you can remove it just by simply jumping. Dismounting to combos is fairly important. For most classes that are like a medium or above, those classes often have a knockdown or like a huge stagger related to their dismount. So it's important to get into the dismount habit, like right in the middle of the fight. Say that you see the horse cooldown of your dismount coming back, just hop on your horse and then instantly dismount in the middle of a fight. That can turn the tides of a lot of scenarios. It is dangerous to jump off of high places, as it does a lot of damage, especially without the 50% full damage rune. So what you can do, like as a worst case scenario, is trying to log onto the wall. However, if you do this, the wall will kind of remember the damage you were supposed to take, and then you would end up taking that damage when you touch the ground eventually. So this is like a very risky move, because it only works if you call your horse or you're lodged onto the wall. Launching onto walls can be used for a variety of other purposes though. You can use this to ride the wall to get around corners that usually wouldn't, and this is like a really good way to escape enemies or dive specialty units. Some of my favorite ones are, for example, in Conqueror Castle, there's this wall that leads you all the way to the wall of the home point, so you don't have to use the ladders to get anything. And you can just go up here. This is where they usually keep like coconuts, to keep like Lombos up here, for example, so that's a really good place to go. For example, there's lots of maps that you can ride the wall like this to go to dive specialty units. In earlier iterations of the game, you could dismount off your horse and then mount instantly on your horse again while you're rolling off the side of a wall, but that no longer works, as they made it so that you can only call your horse when you're on the ground. So don't try to do something like this. This used to work, but unfortunately it no longer works. Many maps have gaps that you can jump across to get behind the enemy. This is an example of a place you can go where you can basically hit the front line from behind or dive specialty units. It's very good to learn these places with different maps. The ladders is an important part of Conqueror's Blade. where you need to use it to find trap angles, look for where enemy units are, if possible go up to dive for artillery. However, ladders can also be used to help you get down very quickly as well. You want to keep your character centered on the ladder, and then that way you can slide down without taking damage. This is very helpful when you're trying to escape, or if you just finished diving some enemy units or RD and then you just want to jump off. This is a fast way to do this without calling your horse, because sometimes calling your horse takes a bit longer time and it will necessarily not be the result that you're looking for, as people can catch up to you. The best way to make sure that you don't take damage from falling is simply by dismounting. When you're falling off of a wall with your horse, you can dismount when you're touching the ground immediately, or with specifically with pike you can dismount earlier before you're on the ground. And this basically saves you a lot of damage you would take otherwise, as this would basically, when your horse is dismounting, when you dismount your horse doesn't actually take the damage that was supposed to be registered. This is because if you dismount before your horse takes the damage, your horse doesn't take damage. That's how it works in Conqueror's Blade. So you want to make sure that you're abusing this all the time. This is also used to catch units running away, things like that. However, if you wait too long, in this instance, the horse will end up dying from the fall. So you want to make sure that you get the timing right for this, because the pike is actually the easiest to do this with. Some classes, such as the Maul short sword, you have to wait until the horse lands on the ground before you can dismount, and the timing for that is very specific. While rolling, your distance that you travel is dependent on whether or not you block or not. While you're holding your block for most weapons, the distance you roll will be shortened, but the benefit of this is that your block will be up as soon as the roll is done. So this is quite helpful when you're trying to heal somebody, where you can just hold your block. So as soon as you finish your roll, you'll already be holding your block. This is often good against some classes such as Pike or Maul, in a sense, where because some of those classes are able to interrupt you mid-roll, and that can become really annoying, and this is how you can fight against that.